My name is Ethan Ford, and I used to believe in happy endings. That was before I found the videos on my wife's laptop at 3 in the morning, watching her moan underneath my former best friend in our favorite hotel room downtown. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. The blue glow of the screen lit up my face in our dark bedroom while Vanessa slept peacefully beside me, probably dreaming about her next rendezvous. 22 years of marriage, and this is what it had come to. Me hunched over a computer like some pathetic private investigator, discovering that my entire life was a lie. I'm an accountant by trade, which means I noticed details. The credit card statements that didn't add up, the sudden interest in yoga classes that never seemed to improve her flexibility, the way she started putting her phone face down during dinner. But Derek Harlan, my college roommate, my best man, the guy who'd been coming to our barbecues for 2 decades. The timestamp on the video showed last Tuesday. While I was working late on the Morrison account, they were christening the penthouse suite at the Seaside Grand. Vanessa wore the red lingerie I'd bought her for our anniversary, the set she claimed she'd lost. "Ethan, baby, come back to bed," Vanessa mumbled, rolling over. Her blonde hair caught the moonlight streaming through our bedroom window, and for a moment, she looked like the woman I'd married. Before she became a high-powered PR executive, before she decided I wasn't ambitious enough, successful enough, exciting enough. "Just finishing up some work," I whispered, closing the laptop carefully. My hands weren't shaking anymore. That was interesting. The next morning, Vanessa rushed around our kitchen like a tornado, grabbing her travel mug and briefcase. She'd started dressing differently over the past 6 months, shorter skirts, lower necklines, expensive perfume that I definitely hadn't bought her. "I'll be late tonight," she said, not looking at me. "Big presentation for the Henderson Group." "With Derek?" I asked casually, buttering my toast. She froze for just a second. "Among others, yes. Why?" "Just curious. Haven't seen him around lately." "He's been busy." She kissed my cheek quickly, the same perfunctory peck she'd been giving me for months. "Don't wait up." After her BMW pulled out of our driveway, I called in sick to work. First time in 3 years, then I drove to my sister Lila's house across town. Lila took one look at my face and poured 2 cups of coffee without asking why I was there. She's a nurse at Maine General, used to reading people's pain levels. "How long have you known?" she asked. "Officially, since last night. Unofficially, probably months." I showed her the videos on my phone. Her expression went from sympathy to fury in about 10 seconds. "That bastard Derek. I never liked him, even in college. Too smooth, too charming, and Vanessa..." Lila shook her head. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet, but I'm not going to just roll over and take it." That afternoon, I did something I'd never done before. I went to the Crooked Anchor, the dive bar downtown where Derek and our old crowd still met for drinks sometimes. I needed information, and bars are where people talk. Doug Patterson was already there, nursing a beer and complaining about his ex-wife to anyone who'd listen. Doug used to be a cop before he retired, and he'd always been the biggest gossip in our group. "Ethan, what brings you to this fine establishment?" Doug's voice boomed across the nearly empty bar. "Thought I'd try something different." I ordered a whiskey, neat. "Haven't seen Derek around lately." Doug's expression shifted slightly. "Yeah, well, Derek's been busy. New promotion at the agency, you know how it is." "Right. Vanessa mentioned he's been working a lot of late nights." "Among other things." Doug stared into his beer. "Look, Ethan, I probably shouldn't say anything, but..." "But what?" "People talk, you know? Small town, smaller social circles. Maybe you should ask Vanessa about those late nights." So Doug knew, probably everyone knew except me. The thought made my stomach burn, but I kept my voice steady. "What kind of talk?" "The kind that ends friendships and marriages." Doug finished his beer. "I'm sorry, man. I thought you knew." I spent the next week gathering evidence like I was preparing for the most important audit of my career. Credit card statements, phone records, hotel receipts that Vanessa had carelessly left in her car. She'd gotten sloppy, confident that her boring accountant husband would never catch on. The Henderson Group presentation was fictional, of course. Vanessa was actually at Derek's new house on Elm Street, the pretentious colonial he'd bought after his divorce last year. I knew because I'd followed her there, parked across the street like some kind of stalker, and watched them through his living room window. They weren't even trying to hide it anymore. Friday night, I set my trap. I printed out everything, the credit card statements, the hotel receipts, screenshots from her phone that I'd managed to access while she was in the shower. I spread it all across our dining room table like evidence in a murder trial. Then I waited. Vanessa came home at midnight, humming some song I didn't recognize. She stopped when she saw me sitting at the table, the evidence laid out in neat, accountant-perfect rows. "What is this?" she asked, but her voice had lost all its confidence. "This is 22 years of marriage." I picked up a hotel receipt. "The Seaside Grand, March 15th. You told me you were at a conference in Boston that night." Her face went white. "Ethan, I can explain? Can you? Because I'd love to hear how you explain this." I held up my phone, the video queued up and ready to play. Or maybe Derek can explain it when I show this to his boss on Monday morning. Vanessa sank into the chair across from me. For the first time in years, she looked vulnerable. "How long have you known?" "Long enough. The question is, what happens now?" "It doesn't mean anything," she said quickly. "It's just, we've grown apart, Ethan. You have to admit that. We're different people than we were when we got married. So, you decided sleeping with my best friend instead of talking to me about it." She flinched at my language. I never swore at her, never raised my voice. But the old Ethan was apparently done being polite. "It started as just talking," she said. "Derek understood my ambitions, my frustrations. You never did. You were content with your little accounting firm, your predictable life. I needed more. So you took more, without asking, without caring how it would affect me. I never meant for you to find out this way. You never meant for me to find out at all." I stood up, gathering the papers. "Here's what's going to happen, Vanessa. You're going to pack a bag and stay at your sister's place while we figure this out. And Derek's going to learn that actions have consequences. You can't destroy his career over this. He has a family to support. He should have thought about that before he started screwing my wife." Vanessa tried tears next, then anger, then bargaining. But I was done listening. The woman I'd loved for half my life had chosen someone else, and she'd done it in the most humiliating way possible. Everyone knew except me. The cuckolded husband, the last to know. She packed a bag and left that night. I poured myself another whiskey and started planning my next move. Monday morning, I called Derek's office. His secretary, a sweet older woman named Margaret, put me right through. "Ethan, good to hear from you, buddy. How's everything?" His casual tone made my jaw clench. "Everything's great, Derek. Just great. Listen, I was wondering if we could meet for lunch today, catch up on old times." "I'd love to, but I'm swamped with the Henderson presentation. Rain check?" "There is no Henderson presentation, Derek. We both know that." The silence stretched for 10 seconds. Then, "I think we should talk." We met at Murphy's Deli, neutral territory where we'd had lunch 100 times before. Derek looked nervous, fidgeting with his expensive watch and avoiding eye contact. "How long?" I asked without preamble. "Ethan, listen." "How long have you been sleeping with my wife?" He sighed. 6 months, maybe 7. It wasn't planned, it just happened." "It just happened. Like you accidentally fell into bed with her, multiple times, in multiple hotels." "I know how it looks." "You know how it looks. It looks like my best friend has been betraying me for half a year while I invited him to dinner and asked about his kids." Derek leaned forward. "Your marriage was already over, Ethan. You had to have seen that. Vanessa was miserable. You both were. So you decided to help yourself to my wife instead of talking to me about it. What would you have done if I'd told you Vanessa was unhappy? Really?" The question caught me off guard. What would I have done? Tried harder, gone to counseling, planned more romantic dinners that she'd find boring? "I would have fought for my marriage," I said finally. "With what? You've been going through the motions for years, Ethan. When's the last time you surprised her? Took her somewhere exciting? Made her feel like she mattered? When's the last time you weren't a backstabbing piece of shit?" Derek's face hardened. "I'm sorry you found out this way. I really am. But Vanessa and we're good together. We understand each other." "You understand each other? How romantic." "She's filing for divorce, Ethan. It's over." That was news to me. Vanessa hadn't mentioned divorce papers, but then again, she'd been busy with other things. "Is she now? And I suppose you two have it all figured out? The house, the assets, the humiliation tour?" "It doesn't have to be ugly. Too late for that, don't you think?" I left Derek sitting at the table and drove straight to the Crooked Anchor. Doug was there, along with Mike Sullivan and Tommy Chen, guys from our old college crowd who still met up occasionally. "Ethan," Mike called out, "heard you and Vanessa are having some troubles." So the news was already spreading. Perfect. Troubles. That's one way to put it. I ordered a beer and joined their table. "Did you all know about Derek and Vanessa?" The uncomfortable silence told me everything I needed to know. Jesus, Ethan, Tommy said finally. We didn't know how to tell you. How long has everyone known? Couple months, Doug admitted. We saw them together at the Riverside Inn. Thought maybe you guys were separated or something. Separated, right. I took a long drink. And nobody thought to give me a heads up? It wasn't our business, Mike said defensively. Marriage problems are between married people. Even when one of the married people is supposed to be your friend. We're all friends here, Tommy said. This is awkward for everyone. Awkward, I laughed, but there was no humor in it. My wife is screwing my best friend, and it's awkward for you. Look, Ethan, Doug said carefully. Maybe you should consider that Derek might be right about some things. You and Vanessa haven't seemed happy for a while. So it's my fault. Nobody's saying that, Mike jumped in. But relationships take work from both people. Maybe if you paid more attention? Maybe if I'd paid more attention, what? I would have caught them sooner? Been a better husband? What exactly are you suggesting, Mike? The table went quiet. I could see it in their faces. They'd already chosen sides, and it wasn't mine. Derek was successful, charismatic, fun to be around. I was the boring accountant who'd let his marriage fall apart. We're just saying, Tommy said slowly, that maybe everyone would be happier if you could find a way to move on. Be the bigger person. The bigger person. I finished my beer and stood up. You know what? You're right. I should definitely be the bigger person here. Thanks for the advice, guys. Really illuminating. I walked out of the Crooked Anchor knowing I'd lost more than my wife. I'd lost my entire social circle, 20 years of friendships, all because I was the victim instead of the aggressor, because I was boring instead of exciting, because I'd been faithful instead of adventurous. But as I sat in my car in the parking lot, I realized something interesting. I wasn't sad anymore. I was angry. And anger, I was discovering, was a much more useful emotion than heartbreak. I spent the next 2 weeks learning everything I could about Derek's business and personal life. It's amazing what you can find out about someone when you really try. Public records, social media, professional networks. It's all there if you know where to look. Derek Harlan, senior partner at Harlan & Associates PR firm. Divorced 2 years ago, paying substantial alimony to his ex-wife Jennifer. 2 kids in private school, big house, expensive car, country club membership, the kind of lifestyle that required a steady income and a spotless professional reputation. Vanessa had moved in with him the week after our confrontation. She'd sent her sister to get more clothes from our house, avoiding me entirely. Her lawyer had called about divorce proceedings, but I'd told him I needed time to think. What I really needed was time to plan. I drove by Derek's house on Thursday evening and saw them through the kitchen window, cooking dinner together like a happy couple. Vanessa was laughing at something Derek had said, the same laugh she used to save for me. They looked comfortable, settled, like this was their real life, and the past 22 years had just been an intermission. That night, I made my first move. Derek's biggest client was Morrison Industries, a manufacturing company that prided itself on family values and Christian principles. Old Man Morrison was a deacon at First Baptist Church and had been known to drop clients who didn't meet his moral standards. I'd done Morrison's books for 5 years before they moved to a bigger firm. I knew Harold Morrison personally, knew he was a good man who genuinely cared about integrity and honesty. Friday morning, I called his office. "Ethan Ford, how are you, son?" Harold's voice boomed through the phone. "I'm well, Mr. Morrison. Listen, I hate to bother you, but I thought you should know about something concerning your PR firm." "What kind of something?" "It's about Derek Harlan. I'm afraid he's been having an affair with a married woman. One of his employees, actually. I thought you'd want to know, given your company's values." The silence on the other end lasted so long, I thought we'd been disconnected. "That's a serious accusation, Ethan." "I have proof, sir. Videos, hotel receipts, credit card statements. The woman is my wife." Another long pause. "I'm sorry to hear that, son. That must be very difficult for you." "It is. But I thought you deserved to know the kind of man you're doing business with. I appreciate you bringing this to my attention. Can you email me that proof? I'll send it right over." I hung up feeling lighter than I had in weeks. Morrison Industries represented 40% of Derek's business. Losing them would be a significant blow, both financially and professionally. But I wasn't done yet. Saturday morning, I drove to Jennifer Harlan's house in the suburbs. Derek's ex-wife was a small, sharp-eyed woman who answered the door in yoga clothes and a suspicious expression. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" "Hi, Jennifer. I was hoping we could talk. About Derek." Her expression softened slightly. "I heard about Vanessa. I'm sorry. Can I come in? I think we might be able to help each other." Jennifer's living room was neat and comfortable, decorated with pictures of her 2 teenagers. She offered me coffee and settled into the chair across from me. "Derek's been late with his alimony payments," she said without preamble. 3 months running. Claims business is slow, but he just bought a new BMW. Kukikyon. Business might be about to get slower. I told her about Morrison Industries, about the evidence I had, about Vanessa moving in with Derek. Jennifer listened without interruption, her expression growing more interested by the minute. "So, you're looking for revenge," she said when I finished. "I'm looking for justice. There's a difference." "Is there?" "Because it sounds like you want to destroy Derek's life." "I want Derek to face consequences for his actions. He broke up my marriage, turned my friends against me, and now he gets to ride off into the sunset with my wife?" "I don't think so." Jennifer was quiet for a long moment. Then, "What do you need from me?" "Information. You were married to him for 15 years. You know his weaknesses, his secrets, his pressure points." "He's proud," she said immediately. "Obsessed with his image and his reputation. Losing clients would devastate him, especially if it became public knowledge." "What else?" "He's been hiding assets from the divorce settlement. I've suspected it for months, but I couldn't prove it. He's got money stashed somewhere that he didn't declare." Now that was interesting. "Any idea where?" "Offshore accounts, maybe. Or investments under his mother's name. She lives in Florida, and they're very close." We talked for another hour. By the time I left, I had a much clearer picture of Derek's vulnerabilities, and Jennifer had agreed to help me exploit them. Monday morning brought the first domino falling. Harold Morrison called Derek personally to terminate their contract, effective immediately. I know because Derek called me 20 minutes later, screaming, "You son of a jerk! You destroyed my biggest client." "I have no idea what you're talking about," I said calmly. "Morrison just fired me. Said he had evidence of moral turpitude. What did you tell him?" "I told him the truth. That you've been having an affair with a married woman. That you're a liar and a cheat who can't be trusted." "You bastard! That contract was worth 6 figures. Should have thought about that before you started screwing my wife." Derek was breathing hard on the other end of the line. "This isn't over, Ethan." "You're right, it's not." Tuesday brought the second domino. Jennifer filed a motion with the court requesting a forensic audit of Derek's finances, claiming he'd hidden assets during their divorce. The motion was granted, and Derek's accounts were frozen pending investigation. Wednesday, the local newspaper ran a small item about the Morrison Industries contract termination, mentioning moral concerns about Harlan and Associates. In a small town, that kind of publicity spreads fast. Thursday, 2 more clients canceled their contracts. By Friday, Derek was desperate enough to show up at my house. I was in my garage, working on my old Mustang, when his BMW pulled into my driveway. He got out looking haggard, his usually perfect hair disheveled, his expensive suit wrinkled. "We need to talk," he said. "Do we?" I didn't look up from the engine. "You're destroying my life." "I'm not doing anything. I'm just telling people the truth about what kind of man you are." "I'll lose everything. My house, my business, my kids' college funds." "Funny how consequences work, isn't it?" Derek moved closer, and I could smell alcohol on his breath. "I made a mistake, okay? I'm sorry. Vanessa and I... It's over. She moved out yesterday." That got my attention. "She moved out?" "Couldn't handle the pressure. Said she didn't sign up for this kind of drama." Derek laughed bitterly. "Turns out your wife doesn't like being associated with failure." So Vanessa had abandoned ship at the first sign of trouble. I couldn't say I was surprised. "Where is she now?" "Her sister's place, I think. Look, Ethan, I'm begging you. Call off the dogs. I'll do whatever you want." I straightened up, wiping my hands on a rag. "Whatever I want." "Within reason." "I want you to stand in the middle of Main Street and tell everyone what you did. I want you to apologize publicly for breaking up my marriage. I want you to admit that you're a lying, cheating piece of shit who betrayed his best friend." Derek's face flushed red. "I'm not going to humiliate myself for your entertainment." "Then I guess we don't have anything to talk about." "You can't keep doing this. It's harassment." "It's justice. You destroyed my life, Derek. Now I'm returning the favor." Derek took a step toward me, his hands clenched into fists. "You always were a pathetic little man. No wonder Vanessa came looking for something better." "Maybe, but at least I'm not losing everything I worked for because I couldn't keep my dick in my pants." He swung at me then, a wild haymaker that I saw coming from a mile away. I ducked easily, and Derek's momentum carried him into my workbench. Tools scattered across the concrete floor as he stumbled and fell. "Get off my property," I said quietly. "And don't come back." Derek pulled himself to his feet. "This isn't over." Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet. The forensic audit of Derek's finances turned up exactly what Jennifer had suspected. Hidden assets worth nearly $200,000. Money that should have been split in their divorce settlement. The judge was not amused. Derek's professional license was suspended pending an ethics investigation. His remaining clients fled like rats from a sinking ship. The house went into foreclosure. The BMW was repossessed. But I saved the best for last. I'd been saving one piece of evidence, a video Vanessa had made on Derek's phone, something she'd probably forgotten about in all the excitement. It was particularly explicit, and it had been filmed in Derek's office after hours. I sent it anonymously to every member of the Chamber of Commerce, the Rotary Club, and the PTE. Derek's kids' private school received a copy, so did his country club. By the time the video finished making its rounds, Derek Harlan was persona non grata in our small town. He couldn't show his face anywhere without whispers and pointing fingers. The final confrontation came on a rainy Thursday evening. I was leaving the grocery store when I saw Derek sitting in his old pickup truck. The BMW was long gone, in the parking lot. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in the past month. I walked over and tapped on his window. He rolled it down slowly. Ethan. Derek, you look like shit. Thanks to you. Thanks to your own choices. I didn't make you cheat on your wife or betray your best friend. I just made sure everyone knew about it. Derek stared straight ahead through the windshield. I'm leaving town, moving to Portland, maybe further. There's nothing left for me here. Good. Fresh start. Maybe you'll think twice before screwing over the next guy who trusts you. You destroyed everything I built. You destroyed everything you built. I just held up a mirror. Derek finally looked at me. Was it worth it? All this revenge? Do you feel better now? I considered the question seriously. Did I feel better? My marriage was still over. My friends were still gone. I was still alone in a house full of memories. But Derek had lost everything. His business, his reputation, his place in the community. Vanessa had discovered that her exciting new life came with consequences she wasn't prepared to face. They'd both learned that actions have prices, and sometimes those prices are higher than you expect to pay. Yeah, I said finally. I do feel better. I feel like justice was served. Justice. Derek laughed bitterly. You're just as much of a bastard as I am. Maybe, but I'm a bastard who keeps his promises and doesn't betray his friends. Derek started his truck. Goodbye, Ethan. Goodbye, Derek. Try not to hurt anyone else on your way out of town. I watched him drive away, his taillights disappearing into the rainy night. Then I went home to my empty house and poured myself a whiskey. The next morning, I filed my own divorce papers. Vanessa could have whatever she wanted from our marriage. The house, the furniture, half of everything we'd built together. I was done fighting for something that had been over for years. But Derek Harlan had learned that some betrayals come with a price. And sometimes the price is everything you've worked for your entire life. I raised my glass in a toast to the empty room. To consequences, I said aloud, may everyone get exactly what they deserve. Outside, it had stopped raining, and for the first time in months, the sun was shining.